Hello everybody, welcome to the latest edition of House of League. I'm Matt Shaw and alongside me for this episode we have Rugby League's most boring journalist, Josh McAllister. We haven't called you boring for at least 1 week.
A week, yeah, it was nice week off.
How was your weekend this week, Josh?
Yeah,
what did you get up to?
I had a class meal in Lark Lane yesterday for those that live around Liverpool.
Okay, what did you have?
Sunday roast. I mean, but it was nice because it was out.
We can deal with a Sunday roast. We can deal with a Sunday roast. I thought you were going to say, I don't even know what I was expecting you to say.
Oh, no, it was a lovely day out in Lark Lane yesterday.
I thought you were going to get a meal deal or something.
I'm trying to get a sponsorship here, clearly, from Lark Lane.
That's the third time you've mentioned him in about 40 seconds, so yes. And the other person joining us is no doubt going to be insufferable this week because his Hull FC side shocked, let's be right, they shocked the world, knocked out Wigan Warriors of the Challenge Cup. The trophy hoarding, the trophy dominance, whatever we want to call it, is over. 6 in a row they finished on, which is still an outrageously impressive feat. But they're done. We will have a different winner of the Challenge Cup this year. The defence is over and beaten by a very unlikely source, I think it's fair to say. Dan, I'm giving you 20 seconds to say whatever you like about Hull FC.
Is that it? I thought we were going to sit back.
Well, they weren't bad, was they? Not bad. Yeah, is that fair to say?
Right, moving on.
Yeah. No, what an outstanding win that was, and literally no one saw it coming. And to see it covered literally from Hull, right across the M62 as far wide as the Matty Johns podcast in Australia, it just shows how big it was and knocking Wigan off their perch. I mean, that last half an hour was nothing short of incredible. Just watching it unfold, it was kind of mesmerising. And I'm sure we'll get onto it, but to see a 20-year-old winger who's played less than 30 games, well, just not knocking on the door of 30 games in Lewis Martin, have the audacity and the confidence to take on Bevan French like that on the outside and burn him and leave him for dead and knock over his hat-trick is just ridiculous. It's what dreams are made of, isn't it? And for Hull FC, that was a statement win.
Let's just quickly talk about Lewis Martin. It's a fantastic story. Not many people know it. He was playing football until COVID.
Until 14 years old, he was at Hull City.
He hadn't played rugby league. I did an interview with him last year, and he hadn't played rugby league despite being from Hull, where rugby league is the centre of the universe. He hadn't played rugby league until he was released by Hull City. Hull FC just out of the blue really got in touch with him, said, "Do you want to come and have a go?" Look at him now. It's an unbelievable story.
It's massive. It just shows like if you've got pace, I'm not going to say you're halfway there because you still got to have skill, you still got to have technique and quality, but there's no substitute for it. It is absolutely lethal. When you've got that speed and you get put into space, he showed what he can do with that. There were 3 outstandingly well-taken tries, and I think it'd be rude not to mention the other one, Harvey Brann, on the other wing as well. He's a year older. He's come through the ranks at Beverley, just outside of Hull, and equally as good. He's actually made more carries, more metres than Lewis on the right edge. He's scoring tries as well. It was a shame about his hamstring on Saturday, but Touchwood is all right, and he's looked the part this year as well. So they've got 2 absolute flyers who can, run all day, and the speed and the attitude and the work rate they've got right now. To even hear John Cartwright post match and say those 2 lads are what are inspiring that side right now.
Yeah,
they're the ones that putting the confidence into everyone else at the grand old age of 20 and 21, which I think is a big deal.
The game was so odd because at 16-0, I'm going to come to you in a minute and ask about Wigan, Josh, but 16-0 after 20 minutes, you're thinking, Wigan have won, it's game over. I can't remember Wigan losing a game in that manner for a long... They collapsed at home to Leeds, didn't they, a couple of years ago when Rowan Smith had first come over, but it's a rarity. I suppose the big thing for me, Dan, is before we touch on the Wigan aspect of it, for Hull FC to do that, because last year that becomes 80-0. It just does. How have they gone from that to becoming a team that can go to Wigan and essentially, certainly in the second half, blow them off the pitch? I mean, the transformation, it's incomprehensible, really, to be honest.
In one word, it's down to recruitment, but it goes a lot deeper than that, obviously. It's the qualities that recruitment has brought into that side. Don't get me wrong, they've been shouting about you for 2 to 3 years now, and we all know why, because we're seeing the Lewis Martins and the Harvey Branns come through into that side and not just be a part of that side, be a mainstay of that side and be a colossal part of that side. But you look at the catalyst for that win, it was Aidan Caesar. He was outstanding. He was nothing short of majestic. He was brilliant. And, whether through his hand, setting up the winner, the kick, to actually have the confidence to put that kick to send Martin away for the second try was brilliant. And he just took that game by the scruff of his neck. It took everyone else along for the ride with him. So he was phenomenal. Zach Hardacre coming back into that side.
So competitive, isn't he?
I think we said on the phone, he's not as elusive and he's not as fast as he was 10 years ago, but his brain, wow. He's just a competitor. He just fights for everything. He just knows the game inside out, knows when to run, knows when to take a step back, knows when to pass, knows when to kick. I mean, the crossfield kick from Caesar, Hardacre catches it, and almost simultaneously, just a little grubber kick, and shoves Wigan into touch. It's just little things like that, just having the know-how to know that actually I haven't got enough space there, I need to get rid of the ball, gets his side in position to win the game, and obviously Lewis Martin produces the goods. But look at John Asiata. I remember going on Sky last year and they asked me what would he bring to Hull FC. He's the glue that'll hold everything together, and that's exactly what he's been. You know, taking the ball from first receiver, lets Caesar play a lot wider, lets him link with the three-quarter line. That signing has been nothing short of phenomenal, which we all knew it would be. It's John Asiata. You know, he was outstanding at Leeds, did some nothing short of incredible things at Leeds. So we all knew what he was going to bring to Hull, and we're seeing that now. And it's leadership, it's mentality, it's all the belief that those players bring to the side. Because let's face it, they've been there and they've done that, haven't they? They've had phenomenal careers and done incredible things, and now they're bringing that to Hull FC and they're taking everyone else along the ride. It's interesting because they're all players that were 30 plus, they're all ridiculed by a lot of people.
That was almost it. They were almost proving doubters wrong, aren't they? Because before a ball had been kicked, everyone's going, well, the recruitment, they're all over 30. They're all
exactly what Hull needed. Exactly what they needed. They didn't have anyone like that. They literally had about 3 players.
They brought in a few. Tom Briscoe had already come in, hadn't he? There was a few more in there, but you're right.
And if you were Leeds Rhinos, you'd be thinking, where was this Aidan Caesar when he was here?
Oh,
because he's been, as you said then, he's been one of the main men for Hull.
Been back straight away though. Comes to the club, John Cartwright makes him captain. Obviously, he's worked with him before at Gold Coast in the NRL. And he said, right, you're my man. Go show what you can do. Go lead this team around. And he's done exactly that.
And I thought when we did our pre-season sort of predictions, he was probably one of the people with the biggest sort of pressure on them because of that sort of having to be the leader.
Especially after Abdul had left. You know, the half-back partnership on him, together. And Cust has probably exceeded expectations as well because he hadn't gone well from over here, let's be honest. And he's held his own. Look, let's go on to Wigan.
They'll be hurting.
Oh, they will.
I wouldn't want to be the team that faces them this week. I'll put it that way.
No, you won't want to be Leeds Rhinos.
You wouldn't want to be Leeds Rhinos because they'll be hurting this week. They'll win or lose, Matt Pete will always say we'll learn from it, and they'll learn a lot from that. And that'll be their motivation for the rest of the year. And they'll be hurting, but they'll be looking to put a big bounce back this week. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be the team that comes up against them. They'll be disappointed, won't they? And with that, a couple of injury blows in there as well. I mean, Jay Field came off with a hamstring issue that he's struggled with, I think, a little bit since coming over. Yeah, and it's a shame because
he did it on his debut against Leeds.
Yeah, he did.
He basically missed the entire season.
He did, and he last year, was it a hamstring last year? He missed 6, 7, 8 weeks. And he was really firing this year. I thought he was in the best form that he's probably been in Super League.
You wrote a piece saying how well he was playing.
Start of the week, I thought I wrote a piece saying that he's in probably the best form he's been in. I think 2023 was his best on paper, and I think he was on paper on form to beat that, and he went off, and that was obviously a major blow to Wigan. But they won't, even with that, that's Matt Pete and the players won't be using that as an excuse.
Not from 22-6.
No, and they've got the players there.
Yeah. There's definitely context there.
Well, they lost Cade Ellis as well, didn't they? But it just seems to me, we're talking about eras and dynasties and everything. That 22 to lose the opportunity to go for 7 in a row, 22-6 down, that'll be devastating for them because we hadn't seen that before, and that's gone now, which is full credit to Hull FC. But you just wonder at where it leaves Wigan now. As you say, I would not want to be Leeds Rhinos. I don't think there's any need to particularly panic about Wigan. I think they'll be absolutely fine, but it'll be interesting to see what the field injury is. That's for certain. The thing it does do, it blows the competition wide open. And
for the Challenge Cup.
Now listen, I've had people take offence to me. I wrote a piece today saying Hull KR have had a massive favour done for them by Hull FC, and I had people, there's other teams in the competition. Of course there is. It's not a foregone conclusion. But we've got to be honest here. When the chips are down, when you get to those big games, Wigan are the team to beat. They are not in the competition. Hull FC have done, not just Hull KR, they've done everyone a massive favour by knocking them out. Who are the favourites, chaps? This is a snapshot. Who's your favourite to win the comp?
Just going back to that point there.
Hull KR.
Who's the second best team in British Rugby League right now?
Hull KR for me. Yeah. Well, you could argue the best team. The league table says they're the best team.
Well, there's your answer.
They haven't played Wigan yet, but Yeah, they made the grand final last year. They finished second in the league. They made the Challenge Cup semi, losing to Wigan. For me, Hull KR have to be the favourites now. They've started the season great. But every team will think they have a chance now. I'm not saying they wouldn't have done before, but Wigan out, teams certainly have more belief that actually this is just
the path is open.
Yeah, for sure.
It has, yeah.
Because, if we got to the quarterfinals and Wigan are in it, everyone's going, anyone but Wigan out there.
Yeah.
Or
and the same
probably
semi,
Hull KR
yeah.
away.
If you get two big guns, it's a bit daft to talk about a draw because obviously we're recording this before the draw, but if you get two big guns now, two top 4 teams from last year, another one goes, you start rubbing your lips a little bit, aren't you? Thinking, don't look too shabby right now. We're 2 games off Wembley, it could be 1.
Yeah.
So it blows it wide open.
I think another team that you Hull KR, I also think Lee might be sort of
absolutely. Lee would
looking at it and thinking this.
They'd be my second favourites right now.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. Who knows what's going to happen? The draw's going to work out. Injuries between then and
KR could draw Lee tonight on the
For
draw.
sure, exactly.
Yeah, when this might go out Tuesday.
But it would be ironic if Hull KR were to win a trophy. We could probably look back and give Alessi a pat on the back for it. Don't know if that'd be very bittersweet for Dan.
You can flip that though. How ironic if it's all set up for Hull KR and Hull FC were the ones that won the trophy.
Well, yeah, 100%.
That's the beauty of the Challenge Cup, though. Literally,
Yeah,
that's very
yeah,
cliche,
yes.
but anything can happen.
It's
Whoever's
very,
the
very
better
interesting.
on that 80 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Just on Hull KR, bit of transfer news over the weekend. Niall Evalds out. He's got Huddersfield. Arthur Morgue in. He's coming from Catalans. Already signed for next year, but he's coming now. What do we think about this? Because Evalds has been the mainstay fullback last season. He's had the full off season there, but now he's leaving. Do we think this is a risk? Do we think this is a good move? Josh, I'll come to you first. What do you think?
I've rated Evalds. I think he's been doing great work at Hull KR. Would it be fair to say this is maybe the first impact we've seen of that transfer window moving? And because players was able to talk earlier, they've gone, look, we're not offering you something for next year. Why don't we try and move this on a bit quicker? And Morgue comes in, I think 102, 103 appearances for Catalans. He can play fullback. I think he's played in the halves. I think he's played 30 of his appearances from the bench. I was having a look at before we came on. So, he adds a little bit of utility there. But Peace just wanted a whole live about how good Jack Broadbent's been as well. Yeah. Willie Peters called him Mr. Fix-It. He's been really good, and he also has that utility. So there's, Morgue won't just come in, I don't think, and be straight away number one. He has got that competition, which players, thrive on in training. It'd be interesting to go. I think Evalds will definitely have an impact on Huddersfield. I think he'll improve them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Morgue fits in at KR and he's a goal kicker as well. So obviously that's a big thing.
Injured.
Exactly, yeah. So that might be he might get straight in at fullback based on the fact he can be the number one goal kicker straight away.
Dan, changing your fullback mid-season. It's not necessarily mid-season. We're still early season, but it's especially when you've won 4 out of 4.
You've done your whole pre-season with that spine, haven't you? You've just done 5 months of hard work.
What I will say, before I get your opinion on it, Dan, Willie Peters has had a few mid-season moves now, and they've all turned out fantastic. Brad Schneider is probably the best example. But they brought Jack Broadbent in last year, ended up playing in the grand final. You've got to say, since he's come in, Willie Peters' recruitment has been excellent. But it does seem when you've won 5 out of 5, you don't necessarily need to fix anything. It's quite an interesting one in such key position is probably what I'm getting at.
Yeah, 6 out of 6 if you include the.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Nothing really to add to that. You look at Willie Peters, what's he actually got wrong? In those transfer moves, those brutal transfer moves that are always for the betterment of the squad. It's never for the individual. It's always about the team, and I like that. You got to put the team first, and proof is in the pudding. That's why they win games in rugby league, because they put the team first. Is that going to improve the team? Morgue's a decent player. He's proven his Super League worth at Catalans. He's got pace, goal kicker, as Josh said. So he's going to add to that side. And there's a reason why Rovers have brought him in. There's a reason why they've tried now and obviously succeeded in getting him here early. So they obviously feel they can add more to that team. Perhaps maybe he's a ball player, maybe than Evalds. Obviously, they've seen something in there where they think, right, he can better our side. So it'll be interesting to see how that works and how he interlinks with Mikey Lewis, how he interlinks with Tyrone May as well, and the combinations and the connections that they can build now. Because let's not forget, we're March. Season's 4 Super League rounds old. There's still a lot of rugby league to be played, and they've got plenty of time to gel and get used to each other. And we spoke a lot about weather recently, haven't we? And pitches are going to firm up. It's going to get more better conditions more suited conditions for free-flowing rugby league, and it'll be very interesting to see how the cogs turn at OKR there with Morgue in the side. But I think the goal kicking point is a really good element because we're talking a long period of time here. We're talking up to 4 months, aren't we, with Reece Martin? So and there's going to be some tight games, and you never know, that could be the difference. So yeah, it's a shrewd piece of business, and Willie Peters with his track record, he deserves the benefit of the doubt.
Just quickly on the flip side of that, it's interesting where that leaves Catalans, because obviously Sam Tompkins just came back.
I'll tell
from
you
injury.
I'm going to tell you where I think this leaves Catalans. I think this is the beginning of the end for Steve McNamara. And I'll tell you why. Not because I think they've lost an enormously important player. I don't think this was his decision. From what I'm hearing, this wasn't his call. This was a club call, not a Steve McNamara call. And I think the minute the recruitment decisions aren't being made by the coach, I think that's the beginning of the end. I think we've alluded to it a few times. We think Steve McNamara is under pressure. I would have been interested to know what would have happened if they had not have beat Leeds last week.
That was definitely a pressure relieving win, wasn't it? Even 11-0.
But from what I'm hearing, this was not a decision that Steve McNamara initiated, activated, wanted to happen, didn't want it.
Surely it leaves him short. Surely, Sam Tompkins, he's back, but he battles with injuries, hasn't he? He has in the latter part of his career. Surely that leaves him short across the back line. Because not only that, he's in the halves as well. You got Luke Carey, who's in the twilight years of his career. Yeah. And they've already had struggles with injuries to start this year of Catalans.
They've got Cesar Rouge, and I understand the element of if Morgue's leaving and we've got Cesar Rouge, we need to start putting time into him. I get that, but you're right, it does leave, especially when Tompkinson's coming back, has had so many injuries. But listen, I think from what I know about how this deal sort of initiated and how it's come about, and the fact Steve McNamara, even on the morning of the game, was still hoping Arthur Morgue would be there, but was told by the club he's leaving. I think once that happens, it's a slippery slope for a coach. So I don't think Steve McNamara will be around. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I just think from what I've heard, but we'll see. Speaking of where leaving Catalan short, segueing in slightly, a bit of a rough segue, I know, but I'm trying. Not as good as Smalesy at this.
I don't even know where this is going.
Salford. We're going to have to talk about it. We've done well to get about 20 minutes into the show without mentioning Salford, to be honest. So I'm quite pleased with that. But another rough week for them. They sold Mark Sneed. Not necessarily going to speak about that too much because we did a special on Mark Sneed that you can go listen to on our YouTube site. But they've played the game against Bradford, won the game, which was a great win, I think, in the circumstances, to be honest. But the big difference we've got at Salford now, and the biggest problem Salford have to tackle, is where the players were incredibly loyal, fiercely loyal to that club through the off-season. With what's transpired in the last couple of weeks, there are a lot of players that have had enough, lost trust and want out. And I think once you get that to that point, Dan, I don't know. I just don't know how Salford managed this situation now.
They didn't look like a group of players that had lost faith in the club. Not saying they've haven't lost trust, but in terms of playing rugby league, bear in mind the context and everything that's surrounding that club last week and what the last 3 months really has done to them mentally. Physically, they turned up on Friday night.
Oh, they did.
They weren't great by any stretch of imagination with the ball, but in terms of spirit, in terms of guts, to play a full game with just basically one interchange it's no mean feat. It's no mean feat. I don't care if it was only Bradford and it's a championship opposition part-time.
Bradford had beat Castleford in the...
They were spirited. They were spirited. They had the moments, and if they iced some of those moments, they actually could have won the game. They had the chances. Yeah. But, when you got, I think it was a 37-year-old Chris Hill, and you got Jack Ormondroyd.
Ormondroyd's 33.
That's what I mean. Going incredible minutes for two big men in the middle of the park and never back down, and it was carry after carry, tackle after tackle. That didn't look like a group of players that are going to throw the towel in for that club. That looks like a group of players who are still together, still very spirited, and are still going to fight for that Salford shirt. However, how long that goes on, because let's face it, if you go deeper and deeper into the situation, and if they have another month where they don't get paid when they're supposed to get paid, that's going to test you mentally, because they're human beings. They might think of these, they're all macho rugby league blokes. They're human beings.
Do you know what, Dan? Chris Irwin did a piece with BBC Radio Manchester, which is well worth listening to. It was an extensive interview, and he did say he didn't see the March payroll being an issue, which I think, we take that on face value and say that clearly the club are confident. But I think the problem you've got now is they're all a bit unnerved. He admitted this himself. You know, they've been left nervous by what's happened. The agents are doing the jobs and have got a lot of these players deals elsewhere that they know they can go to. They think it's more secure. Obviously, now there's Salford going to be a Super League club next year, so you know there's that complication being thrown in with everything that's going on. Players are starting to think about the longer term futures, and a lot of them have deals elsewhere. And you couldn't. I don't think not many Salford fans anyway, would even begrudge players if at this point with everything that's gone on, if they wanted out, Josh. And that's for me is how I see the biggest problem Salford have this week is convincing the players to stay at the club.
Yeah, well, your key word there was trust, wasn't it? And if you've got a club like Warrington, to Mark's need, that says, look, we're willing to pay transfer fees to the club, which benefits the club, but for the player, it's secure, isn't it? It's 18 months. You don't have to worry about what's happening off the field anymore. You know you're going to train week in, week out. And let's be honest, it's not football. These they have mortgages to pay. Yeah. You miss a couple of months of payments, and they're probably worrying. They're not on the same wages as football players are. We're not that kind of sport, and that's why it's such a sort of the sport is so special that what we have. You miss a couple of months, yeah, and it's massive. So yeah, the big one there is trust. And when another club will come in for you and you say, look, I've got security of 2 years somewhere else or here or there, you can't blame them, can you? And Salford fans, as they won't want to see any of their star players leave, but you can't question it really, can you?
No. But Salford also can't really afford for him to go, can
no,
they?
and this is since November as well, so isn't it? That's a long time to worry about your bills and the money coming in and what you can afford and what you can't afford and planning ahead. Because when you retire as well in Rugby League, you don't have millions stored up in the bank, do you? You go straight into working, as we've seen. So yeah, it's that trust. And
that's the frustration though, isn't it? The fact that we're talking about a situation that was November last year. Should have been done by now. Should have been resolved. There should be in a situation where we're not in this scenario right now. It should have been resolved.
Which will lead us on to probably the RFL needing someone to take control, because we've not had that, have we?
Wonderful segue. You should be in this chair. But you're right.
It's better than smells,
it's true. I'll say this. We need to speak about Nigel Wood. I bet this Salford matter gets resolved one way or another quicker now. We've said it on this podcast. I've said it a number of times. The governing body, the biggest criticism I had of them was they didn't want to govern. And I think the proof was absolutely there with the handling of the Salford situation. We have ourselves in this mess now. I would imagine that some decisions, whatever those decisions look like, I don't know what they will look like as we record this. I bet some decisions are made, and one way or another, something will have to happen.
And that's what we've been lacking.
It has.
Everyone has their opinions on Nigel Wood, and there will be. We could probably have a 3-hour, 4-hour special, can't we? But we just need someone at the RFL now to be that leader, to take almost, I suppose, ownership, make those decisions, whether clubs like it or not. Whatever decision they're going to make, it's not going to be the right one for everyone, and just have that leader, which we've been lacking at the RFL, which is why it's been going on since November, as Dan said. Yeah, we have been missing that.
Dan, what do we make of the Nigel Wood interim chair?
I don't know. I think of Nigel Wood and I just look back to 2012 and them Sturbert vans and trying to spot them along the M62 and at Magic Weekend when it was there. And
they've always got names as well, haven't they, at the front? Mine is the Super League. Look at the front of that.
Yeah, the price of the sponsorship. Yeah,
I think I'm caught in two minds on it all, really, because look, I think what Nigel Wood will do is he will provide some governance, even if that means upsetting people. And I think we can all accept that that's been lacking. The TV deals, I think he negotiated increases 4 years in a row. Well, it's gone down 3 times in a row since. But he is undoubtedly a divisive character that not many. There's a lot of people who don't like him and didn't like the way he operated before. So, listen, my opinion is this: if it's an interim and it's a short term, I think fine, because I think be able to sort out the Salford stuff, sort out what's going on at the RFL. I think if it becomes a long term thing, that's probably where I go. There needs to be a lot in place here to make sure that this is going to work. So I suppose I'm sitting on the fence there a little bit. I think what I'm saying is, as an interim, I don't really have an issue with it, because when you're struggling, you want to bring someone in who's been there, done it, and Nigel Wood undoubtedly has done that. It's longer term. We need to know where the NRL are at with all this, don't we? There's been an owners meeting today regarding NRL, so hopefully find something out on that and see what the direction of travel is.
There needs to be some clarity on the female side of the game as well. Why don't they trust in like Nigel Wood?
Yeah,
because that needs addressing.
It was interesting, wasn't it? Because it was anonymous, wasn't it? And which I found odd. I did find that strange, especially the timing of it, because it came out on the day that Derek Beaumont met Simon Johnson, the RFL chair at the time, to tell them, look, we've got the proxy votes, you're out, basically. And then a few hours after that, that anonymous letter came out, and then off the back of that, the Rob Hicks exit story came out, which has been going on for months. It comes out a few hours after that meeting, when we all know, because we ran this story, the clubs want Robert Hicks back. So it just, I'm like, there's something not quite adding up. I'm reading between the lines and going, the timing of all these are odd timing, very, very, very coincidental timings.
All you need to do is clear it up.
Yeah,
if you're RFL right now, just clear that up.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud straight away. Done. We move on.
Let's not forget the AORL statement as well. Troy Grant made it abundantly clear that he's not a fan of Nigel Wood, didn't he? I can't remember word for word what the statement was. And this is what I'm saying about Nigel Wood. That's your point. You've got a lot of people who, he's not a popular person among many sectors of rugby league. So,
and the statement from Beaumont and Hetherington nipped in the bud straight away that it is on. He's not being paid for this, is he? Because that was everyone's, because of the payout we had last time, and that was everyone's. That was the discussion, wasn't it? He's doing this with no pay, and is it June he has to give his sort of findings, another strategic review, which is another thing that we always talk about in rugby league. But he's got till June, so you're right there that it's short term, and then something after June, long term, and be a bit more ambitious maybe.
The strategic review for the autumn review of the review for the off-season review.
Dave Craven did a great piece on the review.
Yeah. Dave Craven's piece was outstanding.
It was.
I am sick to it. We have as many strategic reviews as we do league restructure proposals, and none of them ever actually sort the issue out.
Just need someone to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and govern it. Like you said, just lead it, govern it, make decisions, back your decisions, and get on with it. And
that's the thing I'll say for Nigel Wood in the short term. I think as an interim basis, he will absolutely do that, and he'll, for politer than the actual phrase is, he'll get everyone zacked together. Yeah. So, listen, just quickly wrap up on something slightly lighter. Old Trafford is being demolished, which means the grand final will be going somewhere new, even if it's across the car park, where the new stadium is being built. What?
100,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
The new stadium, 100,000.
Right. Let me ask you quick fire questions. Should the grand final go to the new Old Trafford, as we'll call it?
I'd like yes, because I think they tried to dub it as the Wembley of the North. Yeah. Well, why not be ambitious? Why not? The attendances have been dwindling, haven't they? We don't hit our 70,000s and maxing out Old Trafford, the current Old Trafford. But why not be ambitious? Why not take us to somewhere new? But then the next question is going to be, where else would I like to see it? Well, Etihad is one of them, isn't it?
Okay. Like it.
100% at the new Old Trafford, or whatever it's called. It's going to be arguably the best stadium in the world when it's completed. It's the home of Manchester United Football Club. As a proud Yorkshireman, I have no delight in saying that, but they are huge. They are the biggest club in the world. Of course you want to play it there.
Fair enough. And I would like to see rugby league played there, but given that we're struggling with Wembley, I wonder whether the Challenge Cup final could go to the new Old Trafford, Wembley of the North, and you maybe find a new location for the grand final.
What would be big enough, though? Sorry, Josh. What would be big enough?
Well, I think the grand finals averaged about 57,500 the last 10 times at Old Trafford. So the Etihad would be big enough, based on that. St James's Park. If I think Magic should maybe go around a bit, you should take it to Dublin or wherever. That'd be a good one. Anyway, something we can discuss.
Yeah, I'd like to see it at the new ground. Let's be ambitious. Let's take it. It's going to be, as you say, it's going to be the best stadium, one of the best stadiums. So why not try and connect something there and play rugby league there?
We shall see.
grand final in Newcastle, all expenses paid night out. Yeah,
Here
I'm
he
all for
goes.
it.
Right.
We do love a
pop
Las Vegas
world.
next year.
So yes, and there is a very good pop world in Newcastle. Other nightclubs are available. That is where we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for listening in. Predictions later in the week. Thank you for listening. Above all else, make sure you keep enjoying your rugby league. Take care.